Welcome everyone tuning in with us for the live Filmmakers Talk, Canadian short series, Deep in Your Mind, at the 24th Annual Vancouver Asian Film Festival. I'm Kathy Leung, Programming Curator for VAFF. We begin by acknowledging that the broadcast is taking place on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We're going to do some one-on-ones with the filmmakers of this Canadian short series, Deep in Your Mind. And so we're going to do about 15 minutes for each film. And then at the end, at 8:15, we're going to be bringing them all back and doing a live Q&A. So be sure to join us for that at 8:15. And so first up, we have the film, Nene, and we have the director here, King Louis Palomo, and I believe we have one of the producers as well, Brian Lim.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hi. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your film. I think we'll just kind of start with the questions that we kind of prepped you for a little bit. It was a beautiful film, and we just want to know a bit of background about how it started and what was the inspiration.
Yeah. Brian actually here is my cinematographer as well, and producer. So then it came to me. So we kind of I wrote it like in 2016. Just the idea is to really like I want to make a film in the Philippines because I'm from there. I want to shoot in my hometown. But then I was talking to Brian. We met at Vancouver Film School in 2015. So I was just like, hey, we should make a film. But yeah, and I just don't want to create something that's just for fun. I just want to create something that have a deep message as well. Especially I'm flying in the Philippines. Brian is based in Manila. And Nene is inspired by my grand aunt's life. Not really like based on it, but kind of like inspired. Because my grand aunt is kind of like an artist, a painter. So I just wanna kind of like commemorate the film to her because I wasn't there when she passed away. So it's like I want to make it for her.
Okay, great. And so where is everybody broadcasting in from tonight?
I'm in Vancouver.
Oh, you are in Vancouver. Okay.
I'm in Manila. It's 11 a.m. here.
11. Oh, wow.
Sunny.
I know, it looks like sunny where you are. Oh, wow. Okay, this is the magic of like the virtual meeting now. So,
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. So you guys met in Vancouver Film School in Vancouver, obviously, and so you had some, I guess, background in shooting things here. So how did you go about using those skills, or how was it different shooting in Manila?
How do we do it?
How did you do it?
Where do I begin?
Yeah, it's a struggle, like definitely for me, because obviously I'm in Vancouver, and Brian after film school, he kind of like stayed for a few months, but he went back to the Philippines. So kind of like all the communication, like pre-production, is really a struggle. I met everyone 2 weeks before we shoot, like the cast, the crew. Brian can probably share some stuff too.
Oh yeah, we were like basically exchanging a lot of emails and prep work before his arrival. And then when he got here, we had like a week left. Was it a week left, Louis? Before we started filming in we filmed in Bulacan, which is like, was it 3 hours, 6? No, it's probably
2 hours.
4, 5 hours.
3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours.
3 hours away from Manila, which we had to haul a lot of our equipment to this like beautiful little town. And it was tough, but we managed to pull it off. There's a little bit of difference in the shooting styles when it comes to, but we generally stuck to a more Vancouver style of filming. Because Manila could be quite tumultuous.
Can you give an example
And,
or many examples?
I can give one off the top of my head. It would be basically the hours. Like Vancouver has unions, which limits everything to like a 14-hour shooting window. That includes like, lunch and other stuff, pack and tear down. Here in the Philippines, we could go on for like 32 hours straight. Which I try to avoid whenever possible. I always like, even if we have like commercial shoots with clients, I always stick to like, I can't go on more than 14.
Okay.
I remember.
But at 14 hours, your brain starts going to mush and you can't really get anything out of like the actors or anything productive after 14.
It's definitely different. Like the crew, like I have some Brian's gaffers and lighters. I was talking to them after, like, so we only have 2 days to shoot, about less than 2 weeks to prep, really. So I was talking to the crew because I just met them. I just want to, get to know them as much as possible. And they're like, "Yeah, we have another shoot happening. We have to. we don't have sleep." And then another funny story is about filming the project. Is I met my assistant director the day before my shoot.
Wow.
It happens to be that he's filming a film in my hometown as well, and one of my producer friend in Manila like connected with him, and I was like, "Hey, I need an AD tomorrow."
Wow.
So he's just like, "Yes," and I was like, I met him on that set. I was like, "So this is the film. This is what we're doing." Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and you were talking about how, even the actors, their brain would like turn to mush after a certain amount of that many hours. So maybe you could speak a little bit about how you found your actors and like, I guess King Lou, you weren't in the Philippines to cast it. So maybe how about speak about how you found your actors?
Yeah, I mean, like I have this story kind of like in 2016, like I mentioned, where I was writing it, and I have this idea of this a veteran comedian actor in the Philippines. Her name is Flora Gacer, which is like she's been in the industry for probably like 50, 60 years, as a background performer, as extras, supporting roles. But I just wanna like, because she kind of like resonate like the features of my grand aunt. So it's like I really wanna, and I've seen her on like telenovelas in the Philippines. So I was like, I have her, and then I was lucky enough to have Miss Mercedes Cabral, which is kind of like a well-known, like well-known actress in the Philippines, and like she's been in film with like the Cannes director Brillante Mendoza and another Korean Cannes director.
She was in Thirst, I think.
Yeah, she was in Thirst. So I was just lucky enough to kind of like get her through my connections, because when I went to Cannes in 2015, I met all these amazing producer directors in the Philippines that I was like, I need actors. So I don't have them confirmed until I landed in the Philippines, like days after I landed in the Philippines.
Oh,
So
wow.
there was no there was no preparation at all. Yeah.
And can I just add that the choice of, I thought it was brilliant, the choice of Flora playing as the grandmother, no, the mother, Nene.
The grandma, Nene.
Yeah, I think during like her 50 something years being a veteran in the industry, she was never given a lead role.
A lead role. So this is kind of
she's
like
always
her
like
first
background,
role.
and which I think is sad because the studio system is really prevalent here. It's always like run by the networks, and it's So I'm
Okay,
just
and
like,
you
I'm
said she was a
happy.
oh, that's great. Like, and you said she was a comedic actress as well, and she did such a wonderful job of yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
in this drama.
yeah. I was like amazed, like with them, like with um with both, right, well, the main three actors really, like the grandma Nene, the mom, which played by Mercedes, and the son. The son is kind of like, we actually saw him on on a
A
commercial, on
YouTube
a
video.
no, it's in a fast food chain
It's
commercial.
like Jollibee, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
so I
like
was
a
like, oh,
Jollibee commercial.
yeah, so like they're all like amazing. Like even like the extras, the featured extras that we have, like I just tell them like, hey, this is one, because I'm not a director, so this is my first film to direct.
Oh
So
wow.
a lot of like the cinematography and like shot is, I kind of like, hey Brian, just do it.
Well, he
I'm
was
just
like
like,
he was a really good collaborator, Louis.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
yeah,
was just
it
like,
was fun. It was
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, because my mind is in the producing side, so like I was just like hectic with like production. So yeah, like
Yeah.
I was just amazed with all the actors. Like, hey, this is what I want. Um, they kind of like just do it on the spot. Like I just like, I have nothing. Like you you said it for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what's next for the film?
Pardon me.
What's next for the film? Have you submitted to other festivals, or do you have any screenings coming up?
Yeah, we have another screening here in the Fraser Valley in Vancouver, the
Ah,
Silhouette Independent Film Festival. But we're all like, we kind of like started film festival um, during when the pandemic hits. Really. So
yeah.
it's kind of like my, yeah, like my festival agent, they like, we have to regroup and plan everything again.
Hmm.
We have to, because I don't know if I want to, obviously there's changes on like films moving online, so I don't know if I want to have it online. But I think there's pros and cons, like with this whole going, like this festival going online. I mean, it's sad that I can't see like the audience kind of like reaction. Um,
Right, right. And touching upon that, have you shown this in, well, I guess you wouldn't have shown it in the Philippines, but have you had like have the reactions been similar with audiences in the Philippines and here in back in Vancouver?
yeah, I mean, we actually have um, one of like an online screening in, it's a Dream Manila International Film Festival. So I had some people from the Philippines kind of like messaging me out of the blue, like, hey, we like the film, I resonate with the film. So it's kind of like lovely to hear that, but again, just seeing people's reaction is kind of like what's missing. But what can we do?
Nothing beats screening in a live theater.
Yeah,
In a
Yeah,
movie theater.
yeah, and hopefully soon we'll be back. Hopefully it won't be too long. Um, yeah, and what's next for the both of you?
Brian.
I don't know. We're all out of a job here.
Oh,
We're still in quarantine. Well, the city's opening up, but yeah, like, well, I work in the tourism industry, so everything's been like closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're trying to. I during the quarantine, I wrote a full feature script, and I think Louis did too. And we're trying
wow.
to get that produced.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when
Hopefully.
things ease up a bit.
Yeah. So
Right.
we wrote a film. And same with me, I wrote another like a film. It's kind of like my, technically my second, but I made a kind of like a quarantine short. So it's my third film to direct. But yeah, it's like a queer POC drag film.
Oh,
With
can't wait.
yeah, it's with Kendall Jenner. So so one of the prime drag queens here. So yeah, but it's just like the pandemic kind of like pushing it, which is sucks.
Hmm. And what have you, what have you taken from shooting this short and going through the whole process, and what have you taken from that and into your features and your writing in this at this time?
I mean, like for me, because I'm kind of like after film school, I was just like my mindset is as a producer, so I wasn't really thinking about kind of like directing. That's not my forte at all. That's why um, like that's why I love filmmaking, is because you can collaborate with people. So I have, like with Nene, I was able to like, take the shots and like how I want it to look and just like give it to Brian, like, hey Brian, this is kind of like what's in my mind. But now, like after that, like people saying me like, I have these stories and you should direct it. You should write it, because it's your film. You have that message. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice to do that. But yeah, it's also nice to kind of like collaborate with people who's actually have the same mindset with you, have the same goals with you. So yeah, like Brian and like my writers now and my future collaborators, do we have kind of like better understanding of like you know. And as a director producer, I was able to kind of like think of the budget within the budget. So
Yeah.
myself, but it's kind of like that's what film is. Like we have to see what.
Yeah, you have to wear all the hats all at once.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I think we're getting a 1-minute warning here. Is there anything else that you wanted to share,
not really. We're just
either of you?
we just want to have people watch the film and let us know.
Really
I can take
glad to
any
be part of this.
criticism, anything. So if you think there's something to be better, you're like, hey, this is not good, this or this is good, I'll take it.
We're open to feedback.
Open to feedbacks.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, yeah, again, it was a beautiful, touching film. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the acting was just lovely. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think we'll be wrapping out this session.
Okay. It was nice.
Yes. Okay. This is the magic of like live streaming.
Live streaming.
We're kind of doing this on the go.
On the go. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, thank you again so much, you guys, for joining us, and thank you so much for your film.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, for joining us from Manila.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and so next up we have the film Christopher Kim, and we have the director Joshua Maikawa with us.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi,
Thanks for having
Joshua. Well, thanks for being here. Yeah, how about you just begin with telling us a little bit about yourself as a filmmaker, and how you started this film.
Yeah. Well, I'm been making films for maybe 8 years now, since high school, and I just finished a bachelor's in filmmaking at York University. I love to direct. I love to work on sound, and I also love to work on music for films. And Christopher Kim was my 4th-year thesis film at York. And that the idea sort of came from, I guess, my past childhood experiences as growing up practicing the piano and doing piano exams, and that relationship with my mom.
Right. And so where are you joining us from
I'm
today?
joining you from Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit later than here in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's about 10:20. Yeah.
Yeah. The film was very, I think it hits a lot of emotional resonance of the way some of us grew up.
Thank you.
With the relationships with their parents and what's expected of them. So how did you, has anyone from like your family seen it? And
my whole family's seen it. My mom was a bit worried that it would be like slanderous towards her, but but I think she was very proud of how it came out.
Right. And so was it kind of semi-autobiographical in a way?
A little bit, yeah. It more so not about like specific events, but more so just the feeling of being a kid and like being isolated at the piano.
Right. And yeah, and that was a wonderful actor that you had there, the little boy.
Yeah, Jerome.
Yeah. And so how did you find him?
It was tough finding him. We were about a week away from shooting, and we put out a few casting calls, and we hadn't found anyone yet that we thought could suit the role, because one, they had to act, they had to look the right age, and then they also had to play enough of the piano to be able to do the performance. So last minute, we contacted a few connections and got in touch with Jerome's agent. Our cinematographer had worked on a project with him before, so we were lucky to get in contact with him, and he actually didn't really play the piano. He knew a little bit, so within that week of meeting him and then filming, he had to learn like the first line of this one song. So like just the ability to do that was amazing, and he was great to work with throughout.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too. Like I was wondering when I was watching it, like, oh, this kid must be like an excellent piano player. Like, yeah. But you're saying he only had a week?
Yeah. So, well, he just had to learn the first line of the song, and then later on in the film, when he does the full performance, we actually had a hand double, which was this girl from my music class at university who had like similar size hands. So we got her to swap in. But the fact that Jerome was able to learn that one line without really playing the piano was pretty amazing.
Right. And you said that your family watched it and your mom also watched it. She was a little bit worried at first.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it was able to kind of illuminate, I guess, like give her a different perspective on what you were trying to express with the film?
I hope so. Yeah. It was very special sharing the movie with my mom. So I think there's obviously always two sides to every relationship, and I tried not really portraying one side too heavily over the other, and so yeah, I think she appreciated that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a nice moment when she was contemplating, or the actor in the movie was contemplating, while watching the other mother and son pairing outside of the recital, and yeah, it was a nice moment because it was almost like you were feeling her longing for that kind of relationship with her son.
For sure.
Yeah. And so this was your thesis film?
Yeah, for my last year at York. So we filmed it just over a year ago, last October, and we finished it in this spring. So finishing it whilst the lockdown started was a bit of a hassle, but I guess it all came together in the end.
Right. How did that go about? So you got it in the can, and then you had to do all the post during lockdown?
So we were probably at our fine cut stage when everything got locked down. So from home we had to like finish editing and then do all the sound and color. So I had to, instead of going into school to use their sound mixing rooms, I had to basically convert my room here into a place where I could just record all the audio. So I had like mattresses and like blankets everywhere to just make everything more soundproof. So, but it was a fun time. it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of shows the resilience of filmmaking, really,
Mhm.
right? The independent filmmaking spirit,
Yeah.
really. It's just like, yeah, you got to throw mattresses up to, you know, buff the sound and stuff. So, wow, that's an incredible feat. So, what are you up to now as a filmmaker?
Well, right now I'm just working. I'm doing a video production job at a local church nearby, but I'm also working on a few projects with some of my old schoolmates. Hopefully working on sound and music for some of their upcoming films.
Oh, right, because yeah, you're saying you had a musical background.
Yeah. So in the film, the kid hates piano, which is how I felt about it too. But I guess after I had to stop taking piano lessons, I started really appreciating it and started writing music on my own. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. And how about for the film? What's the next stage for it?
We're waiting on a few more film festivals at the moment, so hopefully some can get into there. We haven't obviously had a chance to screen it in an actual theater, but hopefully maybe one day we can have that experience.
Mm-hmm. And out in Ontario, are they starting? They have started productions and stuff again?
Yeah. I believe for the most part, I have a few friends working on some exciting stuff on set, so that's really good to hear.
Oh, that is great to hear. Yeah, they've been starting stuff up. They have started stuff up here as well. How did the transition from film school to, I guess, the real world? How did that? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, well, because of the lockdown and everything, it was just a bit of a blur where it hadn't really felt like I finished school because I didn't have that last sort of stretch to be at school and finishing our final films. So it just felt like the lockdown started. I worked a bit on my movie and then I had to go and find a job. So it was, I would say the past 6 months have kind of just been a blur for me.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I guess you had this film to ground you a little bit, to, you know, because you had something to work on during that whole time. Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to share about the film?
I just want to say huge thanks to my whole cast and crew, especially my cinematographer Ibrahim and my producer Diego. We put in a lot of hours and long nights getting ready for the film shoot, and obviously during the film shoot, we all really worked hard and worked well as a team. So I'm just really thankful for them and all their work.
Oh, that's great. And how many days did you take to shoot?
We shot in 3 days. So at our school, you have like 4 days to shoot, but we always like to stay with like a low budget and short, quick days. So that was nice.
Yeah. What so what have you been working on your own things during this lockdown as well? Like, are you thinking about the next short or?
Not yet. For me, it takes a while after finishing one film to get the inspiration to find the right story to tell for the next one. So I haven't been thinking of that, but hope maybe one day I'll get writing again.
Yeah, please do, because this was a lovely little piece that you made here, and yeah, thank you for sharing it with our festival. I think we're coming up to 7:30, so I think we'll be wrapping out soon. And yeah, everybody stay tuned. You'll be back at 8:15 for the live Q&A. And we'll see you again in a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kathy.
Well, thank you again. And next up we have Cacti and Weed with Zoe Ho, the director, and a bunch of other things as well. And I think we have the producer here as well.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
So thank you for being here with us today. And thank you for your film. And yeah, how about we just start with you telling us a little bit about yourselves and how the film was inspired and how it got started.
Sounds good. Does Sam want me to go first?
Go ahead first.
I sensed it. Yeah. So basically, I feel like this film, even though right now I feel like it's a really beautiful product and I'm really, really proud of it, it started off being a very casual project. So I just wanted to write about something that was funny that I had experienced. So it's not an autobiographical film, but there were little parts of it, like seeing family talking to the TV about legislation of marijuana and stuff like that. So anyway, I was telling friends about things and people were laughing really hard and I started writing a script. But then organically things kept unfolding and in the end we just ended up with a 30-person crew. And we shot this film. We really worked super hard to compose music for it, edit, get all of this happening. And so it's been a very interesting process of having, I guess it's just meant to happen.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. And yeah, Sam, how did you get on board with this?
I met Zoe last year. It was like I think I knew her just for a month, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to go over this one thing that I actually want to work on it, but I've never produced something like this." And I was like, "I can try and help you, and then we'll just go from there." So it was just like further back and forth conversations, trying to learn stuff on the spot within an hour or so when it comes to producing and stuff like that. And everything just fell into place, thankfully, and we ended up shooting the film.
Amazing.
Pro.
Yeah.
Like, I could not tell that you took an hour to have to find out something. Yeah, she did a really amazing job. Yeah, and all the things that I would not be able to do, Sam did.
Right. And what are your backgrounds in film?
I'll take this one first. So my background in film is I went to film school for writing. That is what I went and want to do in the future. But right now, currently, I am a script supervisor for MOWs in Vancouver. So that's what I've been up to so far for the past year and a half.
Yeah, and interestingly, so I did acting about 20 years ago in Vancouver. I'm actually alumni from the film school. I acted for a little bit here, but ended up in the Arctic. So the Northwest Territories, yeah. So it's a bit of my backstory. And in the Arctic, I was given the job of producing television, actually. But it meant that I had a very talented sound and camera person, and I had a microphone. And I just ran around the Arctic interviewing the Inuit, learning about their culture, their history, and everything that was happening for them. So I was a producer, yes, and all that stuff. But when I came to Vancouver, maybe 4 years ago, and I started kind of putting my feelers out into this film world again, I was quite amazed by how things are very different here.
Yeah. And how are they different?
Well, for instance, like I said, I had two people running around on ice floes, like driving across the tundra and just hunting and, all that stuff. And in Vancouver, for an indie film, and I was really lucky. So I had mentors or people that I bugged a lot, like Phil Planta and Rick Tay and William Leung, sorry. Anyway, so they would tell me how they would do it. And because I guess I'm like wanting to be good at whatever I'm doing. So I'm like, okay, then I shall try this. So anyway, I think it kind of got really big in terms of our crew. Sam, do you think so? I think for our first film, I could have really scaled back. But anyway, I'm glad that we did what we did now.
Yeah, our crew got bigger and bigger every time we started talking to each other. It would go like, "Hey Sam, I got this person," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like I have this other person. I'm like, "Okay." So our crew got bigger and bigger for the better, of course. It was fun to work with a big crew and learn from different people because they had different like groups that they just came from. So it was really interesting to come and collab together.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you had a big crew. There was a pretty decent amount of cast as well. And yeah, the film just looked like you guys were having so much fun. So yeah, like, can you speak to a little bit about how you found your cast and how you were able to kind of create that chemistry that came out on the film?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we were really lucky to have the ensemble that we have. So I think everybody knows Charmaine Yo, and then because we have Glenn Cho, and he's been around for a really long time too, and then handsome Winston Wong, and I guess I'm cast, yes, and we have Carlo who sacrificed himself to play our homeless person, and then we have Brian Noon who also play, like a pretty ridiculous character who had to really, I don't know, should I like do a spoiler, like take off his pants? anyway,
I think everybody's seen the films now, so no spoilers here.
Yeah, I hope they've seen it by now. So we were really lucky. There was actually no proper casting process because, again, like I said, it was casual. I was just writing a script, trying to practice. Most of all because I felt that as an Asian woman, so like I said, I was in the Arctic. I had no idea what's happening here. And I have never felt like a minority, to be honest. But when I landed back in this big city, I was like, oh, so all the parts for me are waitressing or laundry lady or, yeah. And I was like, I was inspired by one of the teachers at Jab Beach. And she said, if you want to do something, you got to create it yourself. So that was also partly why I decided to write a script, start playing with friends and doing like co-reads and just doing test shoots. Yeah, and then just one thing led to another, as is the story of my life and how I ended up in the Arctic. So there we go.
And so how long did the process take from when you thought of it, when you saw, had that conversation with your family about, marijuana on the TV to the actual shooting? How long was that?
So basically, because the story is a little bit about, I guess, me or some shade of me. So I am a cancer survivor. And basically, so my in-laws, they were in a some restaurant, and I really don't remember the time of this. So the special thing about being a cancer survivor is you have chemo brain. And so for me, I am very capable, but then there are some things that to me are kind of abstract. So like that kind of sense of time. So I believe it might have been in some like be able to guess like a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years even. So just from hearing them and looking at, whoever was on TV announcing all of these things and them deciding that this is how the vote's going to go now because everybody thinks like us. And so that just made me kind of have a little laugh inside. And then I wanted to do a film about how our generations, us and the people that we love the most, sometimes there are conversations that we don't have, that we cannot have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you wrote, directed, and acted in the film, and
produced.
So, yeah, and produced. That's the big one. Can you speak about how you juggled all of those things?
I just wanted to. I'm just waiting for someone to like laugh at me. I feel like because I was that naive and because, like I said, I was a 2-person guerrilla filming team and we did broadcast TV for, I think, 8 years. So to me, having to wear all the hats, So when I was producing TV, I actually also made a magazine that I designed, wrote, and photographed and interviewed. So I'm very used to doing all kinds of things, just whatever's needed to get the job done. So to me, actually, those categories, not that they don't matter, of course, they really, really do, but I just enjoy the creative process. So the juggling, once I realized that in Vancouver, things, especially paperwork, thank God for Sam, and like being organized about coordinating a million people and all of that stuff, that was a lot for sure. So once we got to the shoot dates, the 4 days of our shooting, Sam took over as producer, which was lovely for me. It was really, really a relief. Yeah, thank goodness, Sam. And I loved the directing. I really enjoyed the directing. I enjoyed creating with my production team, wonderful Rachel Chin, and Shun, like our sets, which I found really beautiful. So I really enjoyed all of those things, the art and all of that. The acting I had to do because I wrote this for me, I guess, as my vehicle at that moment. What else did I do, Sam? I forgot already. I think that's about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had other people too. We had a great.
We had lots of great people.
Yeah, our first AD, he got us on throughout the whole shoot. Our first AD was Jory. Yeah, our director of photography was Mark, and he created
Mark Yonko.
Yes,
yeah, we're very lucky to have him.
Yes, everything was very colorful. It was very beautifully done. So we lucked out on our crew members, that everybody worked hard and was passionate to get a good product out there.
And actually, as I was putting together our EPK, and that was the first time I realized that in the world you need something like an EPK, I realized everybody on our crew, so many of them are award-winning, amazing, composers, editors, colorists, DOPs, and I was just quite floored. Yeah. And actually, back to the cast. So we were also so lucky. So actually, Charmaine has been part of this process from the very beginning. So when we were just a little group of actors meeting, and she was encouraging me a lot with the writing of the script, of the doing of the test shoots, and she really did sacrifice herself to play my mom. Yeah, so she had to wear, and we did not realize this, but it was very uncomfortable makeup, and just age herself by a million years to get into the role. Yeah, and I think we all really did have good chemistry when we kind of had the camera rolling. We really fought when we had to fight, and then we really got sexy when we had to get sexy, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and
we had a very professional cast.
Absolutely, it was great. And the dynamic between your character and the mother-in-law was just very palpable, right? I think a lot of
sometimes
people
it was like, are her eyeballs gonna fall on me?
Yeah, I think quite a few people can definitely relate. And how much of it, because you had such an amazing cast, how much of it was improv, or how much of it was true to the script, or did you kind of let them play, or how did that process work?
It was a little bit of both. Yeah, because I actually did go through, I think, at least 30 rewrites. And that was also a very, Sam's like, yeah. I really actually loved the process, because for me, this whole thing with Rick Tay's help, he really gave me a lot of pointers on how to get my script to even more comedic place, how to get the conflict, to be even funnier. So we had a script. It was quite a solid script, but we also played, as in we did have lots of unexpected little things happen, or for instance, when we're shooting the montage, Sam was pretty shocked when when in the bathtub, I took out the special thing, and then she was just like, I didn't know you were gonna do that.
It's nice to keep it fresh and lively. Keep them on their toes. Yeah.
exactly. So I think everybody
yeah.
had little moments, or like when Carlo, from the ground just jumped up and started like yelling at us. I think we really laughed very hard when we were shooting that scene. It was kind of cool.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm getting a 1-minute warning here. So just quickly, what's the next things for both of you?
Yeah. Currently, still like because of the pandemic and stuff like that, I've been given the time to write stuff here and there, trying to write a feature. But right now, because some productions are up, so I'm still currently script supervising on a few shows right now. So that's what I've been up to, or what's next for me anyway.
Oh. And Zoe?
Cool. Yeah, it's very in demand. I am acting and auditioning, and I am also actually really enjoying. I'm more multidisciplinary, so I'm doing a lot of writing. Actually, I'm learning to write poetry and memoir, and trying to bring that into what I'm doing with film and TV. And also, I am actually studying a master's right now in counseling psychology. So I'm hoping to bring art and healing and self-expression together.
Wow, that's amazing. And you've been through such a journey, a personal journey as well as this film. And so yeah, thank you both for having it here at VAFF. And yeah, we'll have a live Q&A at 8:15. So we'll see you back then.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Later.
All right. And next up we have the film The Star of Therapy. And we have a couple of the actors and the writer here. So Anna Pacheco and Stella Lai.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to see you both. Yeah, I think if you guys have been backstage, you kind of heard how it's kind of going. So yeah, if you can let us know a little bit about yourselves as actors and writers, and a little bit about how the film came to be for you. Oh, Anna, I think you're muted.
Sorry,
Oh,
I just realized I was muted. Stella, would you like to go first or me?
You.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having us. Yeah, this is a very personal film. So I wrote it because it was kind of based on, like, loosely my experience in group therapy. So I've been in the mental health system since I was about 14, and I'm now almost 27. So I've done a couple groups, and I just noticed that, like, the dynamics in it were very interesting, and I thought that it would be kind of a fun dark comedy to write. And the character that Stella plays is, I couldn't base it on anyone actually, because you can't really do that. You're not allowed to discuss what happens outside of group. But I noticed that when I was in group, I found myself feeling a little competitive with other members over completing our weekly goals and kind of like getting, kudos from the group moderator, which is obviously not the point of therapy. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to write that. And then, yeah, we were super lucky to get some awesome actors, including Stella, who plays my nemesis in the film. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, like it is a dark comedy. And how did you manage the balance of making it funny and humorous, but yet not wanting to make fun of, like, the actual situation?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I thought if I wrote it to be true, then it would be portrayed as such. So I definitely wrote lots of different drafts, and I knew that casting would be one of the biggest things that would bring that to life. So, for example, Stella, which I would love if she talks about her character, like, she's very particular. She has OCD, and I didn't want that to be a stereotype, because my character has anxiety and depression, but in real life, OCD is what I struggle with most. So I wanted it to be displayed as, like, a very debilitating disorder, and to the outside world, it is often comedic, but I feel like lots of people don't really understand like the scope of what it entails and how much it really affects your life. So it was really important to Bryce, the director, and Andy, the producer, and I, that we, put out a casting call for people that were really going to bring that alive. And we had a lot of amazing actors come in, but Paula, who plays the therapist, and the other cast, which is a wonderful ensemble, and Stella really brought that to life. So yeah, I don't know if Stella, you want to talk?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that because it was very interesting when I got the script and I was, thinking about how was I going to play this character that has, OCD and that kind of stuff. And I was doing, research and thinking about it. But, at the end of the day, what I found was when somebody's struggling with mental illness, you can't tell. They look just like you, they look just like me, but all the struggles are inside. And so, like Anna said, I didn't want to, make this a caricature, or make fun of it in any sense, right? So I had to, really keep it real and keep it really grounded in the performance, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, how did you prepare for the role?
I didn't try to do anything too big, like to make it obvious, because that's not real life. That's not what happens, right? So, but even to this day, like everything is, in my head, and I'm hoping that it'll show on camera. But, and it's, I love the writing that Anna wrote for this character because, the things that people struggle with, to you, it might be very trivial. To everybody else, oh, it's very easy to accomplish this task. But for people who do have, mental illnesses or, certain anxieties or struggles, it's actually really difficult for them. And for them to accomplish these goals, it's a big hurdle that they passed. So that's how I took the character.
Yeah, and yeah, it was wonderful, your portrayal, because what I really enjoyed a lot about the film too was at the end they come together and they have a certain understanding, right? Like that was a really nice moment, because it shows that if you can try to find common ground, you really can, even though you're both struggling, or both of the characters were struggling. And so what are your film backgrounds? Like how did you get this process started, Anna?
Well, I live in Steveston and they do a lot of filming there. So funnily enough, I feel like part of what got me into film was just kind of going and watching and seeing how much like action happened on set. And that kind of initially drew me in several years ago. And then I've always been a writer. I've always loved writing short stories growing up and everything. So after doing general arts at Leung, I ended up doing the film program for screenwriting. And following school, I spent several years as a third assistant director, which I really enjoyed, and I liked learning about the different departments. But after that, I realized that I wanted to be more in the creative side, definitely, and I wanted to use my screenwriting background as well as kind of dabble in acting. So I didn't have much like training for acting, basically. I'd only taken some classes with coaches. Jennifer Copping, who's a really great teacher, and some other people, but I hadn't done much. So I wanted to do a character that I felt like I would be comfortable playing. And it was very close to home, so I didn't have too much trouble with it. And Bryce, our director, also did a really nice job of coaching on that. So yeah.
Yeah, and as you were writing it, how did you feel about like what is real and what is not? Because I'm guessing that some of it, obviously, because it's a film, it was exaggerated, or it doesn't happen exactly the way it does in real life. Like how did you kind of go about figuring out what things to heighten the comedic tension there?
That's a good question too. Yeah, obviously I didn't actually vandalize posters in the hospital when I was in therapy. I definitely wanted to. My psychiatrist, who I see at Richmond General Hospital, always has these cheesy posters in his office, and I just want to like write on them or something, because it feels so like it's trivializing mental health, like, oh, just be positive, just get over it, you know. So that's always kind of pissed me off. So I wanted to bring that to attention, and I wanted to have the rivalry between Stella's character and my character be really heightened, as well as kind of just, I wanted each individual character to have a really rich backstory. And that's actually something that ended up changing a lot in the edit, because originally the script was longer and I'd kind of written it more for an ensemble cast, because all our actors were so good and all the characters were so specific. But that unfortunately ended up being something that we had to kind of like whittle down, because it is a short film, so we didn't want it to be like 40 minutes. But yeah, I had a lot of fun just writing each specific disorder that each person had, because that's kind of what I felt like happened in actual group, is that the disorders clashed. So my character was kind of annoyed by every other character because she was so in her head, and the same for the other characters. So the character Gordon as well, who has the back pain, he's just like so down on himself and very much in his own world, and that was supposed to be something that really pissed off Kendra as well. And then there was the character of Timothy, who's the only other guy her age in the group, so she just like latches onto him as a potential sexual interest, even though like he wouldn't be in her normal life. Like these are all kind of things that I felt like I actually experienced in group several years ago. But,
wow. Yeah. I really appreciated this film, because I mean, it's great that now we're speaking more about mental health and it's becoming less stigmatized, less taboo. Yeah, we're speaking out about it more publicly, and it's great to have this film actually that is that is comedic, and that, you know, it can be something of levity. So I definitely really appreciated that for sure. Do you feel that like societally things are changing around the issues of mental health? Like it seems like things are going in a more positive direction, I think, with more just more exposure.
Yeah, Stella, do you want to take that question?
Sure. Actually, I was going to say that I totally agree with it being like a taboo subject, right? Or there's a lot of stigma around it. And so that's why I felt that this film was, super important too, because the message is that, hey, you know what, especially with like the ensemble ensemble cast, that, mental illness can affect everyone, right? Regardless of your background or your race or your gender or even your age, it can just affect everyone. And that's why I think it was so important, especially like for the Asian cultures, people of Asian descent. There's so much stigma and taboo about it, right? Like you'd never open up to your parents about it, because they would, well, not never, I won't say that, but there's a lot of pressure to not be in that position where you have mental illness, right? And so reaching out for help is so much more difficult. But I'm hoping that things are changing with all of the awareness that is being raised in recent years, right? All the campaigns, and so hopefully that it can really help people. Really, if they need the help, reach out, because there are always, you're not alone in this. There's other people who are out there that can totally understand where you're at, and hopefully that can assist people.
Yeah, and I think films like this one definitely open that up as well, and definitely move those kinds of conversations forward, because this is something you can watch, with your family or people that you don't think that would be exposed to something like this, or who are afraid to talk about it, and it's a way in. So yeah, definitely thank you for the film. Just quickly here, what's next for the both of you as filmmakers and an actor?
Anna?
Well, I was watching the previous Q&A. I've been doing lots of auditioning as well. I feel like it's very busy since they're being forced to use Canadian actors even more now. And I'm also writing a feature film about mental health, and I also pitched to Crazy 8, so I'll find out about that hopefully soon. I'm paired with a really good team for that, and it's also about mental health. I'm very passionate about opening that dialogue. I do write other stuff, but that's what I'm focusing on right now. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, and
Well, good luck.
and Stella.
And I've just been busy like with auditions, right? Because of the pandemic. Like it's really, I feel that's really opened up a lot of opportunities for local Canadian actors to fill in those roles that would have otherwise gone to American actors. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, it's a great opportunity, I think, for us and our industry here. So I've been, you know, quite busy with that, booked a few things, and I'm very excited.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's great. Well, thank you both for being here and chatting with us. Yeah, we'll be back at 8:15 for the live Q&A. Thank
you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, so last up is our film, Deeper I Go, and I believe we have the director, Michael Vidler, with us.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so if you could just speak about a little bit about your background and how this film came to be.
Yeah, well, I've been working in the film and television industry for a long time, about 10 years, a bit more than that maybe now. And this one was just, honestly, I don't think I ever thought I was going to make this. I was writing something else, and once I wrote it, me and my producers just decided to see if we get it done, and turns out we actually made it.
Yeah, that's great. And what was your inspiration for it?
I mean, it's always a tough question for me because, like, for me, inspiration, it's in the moment, it's always hard to see what sparks it. In hindsight, sometimes I can look back and pinpoint little things. But to be honest, the big thing was I was writing a feature and I wasn't enjoying the experience. And so I kind of took a break, and I was writing this all the while thinking like, oh, I'm not going to make this movie, so I can kind of pour my creative energy into it, and there's no stakes, there's nothing I have to worry about. And then by the time I was done, it was kind of like, hey, maybe it's pretty good, maybe we should make it. Yeah, so other than that, I think it was just probably my own experiences with my own animals and pets and grief and stuff like that. But yeah, it's harder for me to pinpoint that.
Right. And yeah, I guess I was going to ask you about, the cat. I guess what was the thought behind the choice of making it about grieving for an animal, a cat in this instance?
Yeah, I don't think it was like a conscious choice I made. I think it was like once I started writing, that was always there with it. Partly because like I don't have any kids, and I've had grandparents and people close to me that have passed, but my biggest experience with grief so far has mainly been with pets. So I think it probably just came from me writing what I knew. The cat in the film is an actual cat. It's my sister's cat, so it was also a cat that I knew, that I knew its quirks and I kind of thought was interesting, and I think that's kind of where the idea started, and I started writing on that. But yeah, it always started with that. So
So you had already cast the cat when you were writing. Oh, that's amazing, because I was wondering that as I was watching. I was like, this cat is amazing. Like it's it's so calm, and how was it working with a cat?
Honestly, it wasn't too difficult. Partly because I knew the cat, but also just we always approached it like we weren't too stringent on it being one particular way. A lot of the scenes unfolded slightly differently on set than what we had in the script, and a lot of times for the better, but I wasn't really specific on like the cat's got to walk into frame and hit this mark at this particular point. Like we always kind of shot it wide, or we had like a few different plans, and we kind of just let the cat do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
and it, like I said, it was written for him. So everything that he does, he loves to take a bath. He loves to, go in the stroller. He loves to do those things. So we always knew that would be easy to have him do. So it wasn't too difficult, actually. Yeah.
And how did how did your actor come on board? He's very established in like the theater and film world. Can you tell me a little bit about how that worked?
Well, yeah, Hero's great. I'd written it, and I was always thinking of Hero. I didn't know him, but he was the person I wanted to work with. Luckily, like through some mutual friends and one of our producers, they had worked with him, so I was able to set up a meeting with him. And luckily enough, he liked the script, and he came on board. But it was kind of just a shot in the dark. I had never worked with him or met him, but I don't think the movie would have worked the same way if I couldn't have had him. So it just worked out for us.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's part of your creative process about when you're writing, you had the two characters in mind in real life. So that's always an interesting thing here.
For this project, I did. I haven't always written that way, but yeah, for this one, it was definitely that way, where I had it in my mind exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and can you speak a bit about the look of the film? It's very beautiful and almost poetic in a way, right? With the water imagery and not much dialogue at all. So can you speak about how the look and feel of that?
Sure. Yeah, I think going into it, we always knew that we wanted to have a really bold look, so the first thing we did is we actually shot it on film. Like, it's all shot on 16 millimeter, because we wanted, we took a lot of influence from movies that were from sort of the 60s and the 70s, and they all had that look, and you could kind of see the grain, feel the texture of the film. And we just wanted that sort of bold aesthetic, and we weren't going for something naturalistic, and we always kind of knew that. While we were shooting it, I think, we thought it might not be sort of quite as bold. But then once I got in the editing room with my editor, we kind of realized we couldn't really go halfway. So we kind of just tried to see how far we could push it.
Right. And how was the experience of shooting on 16?
Oh, I loved it. I would do everything on film if I could. It's obviously cost prohibitive, but it was amazing. Like, I love the experience. We had such an amazing crew. Like, I didn't make this movie alone, but I had such an amazing, talented crew in every department. That's the only way I was really able to pull it off on film, but I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I would do it in a heartbeat again.
Yeah, I mean, that's great to hear that that it's still a possibility.
Yeah.
Because I think those possibilities are getting smaller, I think, with film, which is which is unfortunate, which is why this one was quite a treat to watch.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I guess so. What about the dialogue? Like, I mean, it's almost like there's hardly any in there. So how did you kind of work that out?
Well, in the script, there's no dialogue whatsoever. The one little bit of dialogue was something that we just did on the day Hero came up to me, if I'm remembering correctly, and he said, "Oh, should I actually just say something in this scene?" And said, "Yeah, let's try it." And we had a bunch of takes where he didn't, and we just ended up going with that. But I had written it with no dialogue. I think part of it was I don't like exposition in dialogue. And I find, especially with a short film, you're trying to cram in so much exposition and so much backstory and character development that it's so easy to fall back on just dialogue and really on the nose dialogue. So I kind of set out to just do it without that and try and just hopefully have the movie unfold without feeling like there's exposition being shoved down your throat.
Yeah, and that definitely worked. I mean, we knew exactly what was going on without needing to be told. Yeah, that it worked out great. I guess I'm curious about how you guys shot at the various locations that you had. It was like a ferry, an aquarium.
Yeah, it was. I mean, my producers were amazing, and they're the people who really sort of made that happen. The aquarium was on the island, because the Vancouver aquarium, it was like $1,000 an hour or something. We couldn't afford that. And then when I heard, or when I started to decide that we were going to go to the island, that's when I rewrote the script to have the scene on the ferry. There was a different scene that I didn't really like, and so we rewrote it so we'd have that scene at the ferry, and that was all just guerrilla on the ferry, just very quick, shooting it on the way over.
Oh wow! On film, that's
yeah.
bold.
But it all worked out during the
it worked out amazingly. I'm curious about what the original scene was. If you just wrote that on,
the original scene, he actually went to, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think it was like the pet hospital, but you didn't actually see him like in the hospital. It was mostly like the aftermath of him like bringing Kevin there, bringing the cat there, just to kind of like show his death. But I never liked the scene. It was like it felt like exposition to me, and didn't feel like something like poetic, like you were saying. And then when we thought of the ferry and the ferry leaving and all those moments, that felt just more beautiful to me and less like on the nose.
Wow. It's very serendipitous, because like it added to the tension, definitely, of like the immediacy of what the pet needed. So that really worked out. That's amazing. Yeah. And so what's next for the film?
It's just festivals now, so we're still submitting. We have a couple, I don't know if we can announce them yet, but other screenings that'll be coming up, and then hopefully waiting to hear back for some other film festivals. And then after the year's done, I'm not sure whether it'll be something online or if we'll try and go through a distributor or something. But just do the festival run for now.
Right. And how about you? What's next for you?
Just a lot of writing lately. Stuck in quarantine allows me to write. It's always been the feature's always been what I've been trying to get made, but it's just sort of securing the financing for it. So, me and my producers are hopeful that in this next year we'll be able to lock the financing down for a feature I've been writing. But if not, I'll probably end up making something, whether it's a short or a commercial or a music video or something.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And sorry, did you say you went to film school?
I did. Yeah, I did. It was a while ago now. But I went to the Art Institute back when that was still in Vancouver.
Oh, right. Okay. So then you've been working in the industry since. Yeah,
basically. Yeah, working in the industry in like television a lot, and then in film and editing a lot, and some camera work. But writing and directing is my thing, but pay the bills through editing mostly these days.
Right. And it sounds like you have a regular core group of people you work with. How do you, or do you have any words of advice for people who are kind of looking for that?
I think my biggest advice would be, reach out to the people that, maybe intimidate you. I think I waited, when I was younger, I waited longer to actually reach out to some, other like cinematographers or editors or producers, because I thought, well, I haven't really made that many movies, but reach out to them and meet them, and you'd be surprised, and you develop those relationships early. And I think I wish I had done it sooner.
Oh, that's a great piece of advice. And do you have any advice for people wanting to shoot on film?
I would say definitely do it, but you have to, we had a detailed, spreadsheet that had our shooting ratios for each scene, and have a really good script supervisor, so you know exactly how much film you're shooting for each scene.
Yeah, you can't just let the role go, or you can't do like as many takes as you want sometimes.
You don't want to run out. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for your film. I think you're sticking around for the Q&A, which I think is happening. I got a 1-minute warning here.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad to be at the film festival and with all these other awesome filmmakers and movies.
Yeah, and there's a few more days left. We're on till the 8th. So those of you out here watching, there's plenty of more films to see. Okay, so I think we're gonna bring everybody back now, and I think we have like all the spaces for everybody too, I think. Oh yeah, everybody's popping on.
Hello.
Hi again. Yeah, I think how we'll start this is how about we take advantage of this forum that we have, and please, if you have any like questions that you have for the other filmmakers here, I'll let you percolate on that a bit.
I don't know about questions. I would just like to hang out. It just seems like it would be really nice get to meet people, you know, virtual or not,
real
share a
human
glass of wine and talk about stuff.
I know.
Yeah. Exactly. I really liked the films. I got to watch them all, and yeah, I really loved them. And they were also different, so unique.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we do have an audience
I agree.
question.
It was cool how they.
Sorry. Yeah. No, please go.
Oh no, it's okay. It wasn't that important.
Okay, well, we'll come back. Yeah, there is an audience question from Royzen Abbott. Have any of you found the extra downtime during the pandemic useful for working on creative projects, or do you work better when things are go, go, go?
I think, well, I can start, I guess. I think for me, when I was, because I got laid off just like a few months after the lockdown, like June. So I actually had time to kind of like think about what I want to do. So I guess it's nice to have that downtime. But I feel like I work better. Yeah, I work better when things are like there's like an actual pressure. But it's nice to see like actually like to have this downtime to think about films, watch films, write stuff. So just pros and cons.
Oh yeah,
I
totally.
feel like
The
the
same goes for
pandemic.
me.
Oh
No, it's fine. You can go.
no, you go.
I just wanted to add like same goes for me. Like I really used the time because it was like a 3-4 month lockdown and just started, writing on like the second month when I was just started losing it and just like went back to all these like previous notes I had. I also, got into like the master class with like this with Scorsese and Ron Howard. Just started learning more stuff and going back to the basics sometimes and just really just keep honing your craft even though things have been really really crazy. And I don't know, I think it's a struggle. It's just like we have to be creative no matter what happens. Even yeah, that's all I have to say.
And Zoe, what were you about to say?
Yeah, I was wanting to kind of add to that. Basically, I feel like the pandemic really changed the way I am approaching a lot of things in life. So it gave me that sudden opening where I realized that, you know, you need to consider what you're doing, whether it has purpose. And if I were to create, let's say, another film, you know, why would I want to spend the time on it? What would the topic be? So I feel like the extra time gave me time to go deeper into why I want to do something, and also have time to have the freedom, I think, to develop the skills to do it. So I'm taking some very different forms of writing classes, which have really opened up kind of new inspiration. So anyway, I think the pandemic has been good in that way.
Is there someone else who wanted to add something? Okay. Well, thank you
I
for
was just
that.
going to say, yeah, kind of line.
Oh, it's cutting out on my end.
Let's see.
I think the internets are are not working over there. Oh, okay. Okay, we'll try and get her back, or her audio back. Oh, another audience question here from Susan for Joshua. After your mother watched your film, did she have any reflections or regrets in terms of her approach with you regarding piano?
I think she had some reflections out. I don't know about regrets. I, for one, am looking back on everything. I'm actually very thankful for her approach with putting me in piano and everything. Just because I went on to actually really love playing the piano and music. So I think she had reflections, but I wouldn't think she would have regrets. I certainly don't have any regrets. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a fine balance, the tiger mom. The tiger mom thing, right? Like, you want to encourage your kids, but you don't want to be too overbearing. So yeah, and oh, this is a good one here from Pawan Diol. What's a film you've watched recently that has blown you away?
I don't.
Pavan's actually one of our producers, but it's funny to see her ask me a question here. I guess the film I saw recently was on Netflix. I watched Dick Johnson is Dead. It's a great documentary. If you have a chance, I would definitely recommend watching it as soon as you can.
What's it about?
It's about a woman who's dealing with her father who's developing Alzheimer's, but she starts to recreate his death with him in various different ways. It's hard to describe. It's a documentary about death and about aging parents, but done in a very unique way. It's funny and sad and really beautiful.
Thank you for that. Much like your film. Anybody else?
Not a film, but a show that I watched recently that blew me away was Fleabag, which has been out for a few years now. But I thought it was just really great in terms of dialogue and having the drama all be generated from the characters instead of external plot. So yeah, I thought that was a really great show, and I'm probably going to watch it again sometime soon.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well, especially like the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more films that blown you away?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I heard that.
Along with Joshua, it's not a film, it's a show on Netflix, Grand Army. I thought that was good. I just thought it very well done, the way it kind of dealt with like racial and sexual issues in like it wasn't a comedy at all, but it was just like it was I don't know, I felt like it was uniquely done. And I hadn't really seen a show like that before. Apparently similar to Degrassi, but I never saw that.
Yeah, we should create a list of this somewhere. Maybe we'll tweet it out or put it on a post on Facebook or something. Yeah, how about the rest of you?
For films.
Yeah, like what has blown you away recently?
Well, not recently. So I guess not really blown away, but I love it. But it's the Amazon series called Utopia. It's based on the series from the UK. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of like thriller or like horror genre, but it's just the timing of the premiere of the season is the right timing with the pandemic. So it's interesting to watch like how the craziness, and it's based on like this pandemic that someone's creating. And yeah, it's just it's interesting.
Anyone else?
I'm just gonna plug Borat. I'm
Ah,
gonna plug
right.
Borat because I thought it was really well done. Yeah, it's hilarious. I love the premise. I love the acting. Yeah, very nice. Somebody just said. Awesome. Yeah, it's actually really well done. Like when you think about how he had to go infiltrate specific people in order to do his mockumentary. Yeah, anyway, I
Yeah.
think everybody should watch it. It's not
Yeah.
highbrow, but think about
Yeah.
acting, think about the filming,
Yeah, it's-
think about all of that.
That's
was
on my list.
pleasantly surprised by that movie. Yeah.
Okay, we have another audience question here, and this is for Anna, and this is from Pratik Sika. Can you elaborate why you would like to tell more stories about mental health? Oh, and I think we're a little bit frozen. We'll get her back. Okay, we'll try and get her back. And another audience question.
Yeah, basically,
Okay.
I just feel like that said that it's interesting that
Oh,
Hello?
it looks like she's. Oh, yeah, we can hear
Hi.
you.
Can you?
Oh, you're
just
cutting out.
talking and see if it works. Hello? Shoot. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, Jonathan says yes. Okay. I'm just going to talk and hope that it works. Yeah, basically, I forget who it was that said that it's really interesting to see films when it's more character-based rather than external circumstances. And that's kind of what I try to concentrate on. I feel like lots of film about, lots of high plot development that has to deal with like huge external circumstances, but I feel like there's so many stories about people that we don't know simply because we don't talk about them. And that's kind of why I'm drawn to tell stories about mental health, both because I have lots of problems with it, but also because I know other people that do. And I feel like in telling them, it helps reduce the stigma, and also it makes for good content because it's such a different experience for people to kind of have unless they've had something similar to it in the past, or if they know someone who struggles with that.
Thank you. Yeah, and then there's a question for Joshua from Christopher Sweeney. Can you tell us more about the kind of musical workshops you've worked on? Do you think your love of music all stems from learning the piano as a child?
Well, I've worked on writing the music for many short films, so I guess I'm not sure what you mean about musical workshops, but I have scored lots of short films. Do I think my love of music stems from learning the piano as a child? I think so, but I think it's also just from a lot of my favorite movies with great soundtracks from when I was a kid. Things like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. I love the music for, so I think a lot of my passion stems from there.
And another audience question for you, kind of tagging on that. Have you enjoyed doing more what have you enjoyed doing more in your work so far, music or film?
Thanks, Noah, for the question. He's one of my good friends. I love working on both. It's really from project to project. When I have an idea for a film, then I really love working on that, writing and directing it. But I think my biggest passion is probably writing music for films. So yeah, thanks for the question.
And okay, oh, and one from Anna to Michael. She asks, did making your film help the grieving process for you?
I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe. I think, like personally, I have a dog and a cat, and my dog is about 11 now, so he's still alive. But I might be making the movie. Might have been me kind of trying to prepare for the grieving process. So I hope it's going to help me.
Okay, I think we're getting close to our time. I guess I was curious. I had asked this question to Michael, but I'm curious from the rest of you too. Yeah, what words of advice would you give filmmakers out there?
I would say to learn how to work with your constraints and embrace them. A lot of the time it seems like, oh, we can't make like amazing movies because we don't have the gear, or we don't have the money or the people for it. But if you work within those constraints, you can challenge yourself creatively to come up with a story that I think could really be great. So I would just say, yeah, embrace your constraints as an independent filmmaker.
Yeah, definitely good words of advice. Anyone else?
I mean, I was just talking to someone else about this earlier, and yeah, I think with the lockdown and like the pandemic, I think we have, everyone have social media, everyone have Facebook, everyone have Instagram. I think if you're interested on like working in film or like trying to get something out, just like try to message people. I think try to slide under DMs and maybe they will answer and maybe they can help you, not necessarily like financially or like directly, but like at least if you have any question, they might be, they're like, yeah, sure, I can answer your questions. I mean, I've done that. I have I did message a couple of producers, and they're like, yeah, we're interested. We can give you some thoughts, ask you some like how to own a phone call. So it's not directly like helping you, but at least you get like inspiration. You never know. Just try. Just do it.
Yeah, sage words. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I think with me working because I work on a lot of commercials, I think one thing that stuck was always do your prep work, especially when you're dealing with clients and stuff. it's always good to be over prepared and just be ready for what happens in the day, because you know, I think we've all been there. There's a lot of unexpected things that can happen on set, and just like minimize and then collaborate and communicate with your casting crew. I think that's essential and very important.
Good practical advice. Okay, we have another audience question here. To the filmmakers who made or wrote films that are rooted from deep personal experiences, like Star of Therapy, Nene, and Christopher Kim, was it a difficult process in deciding to share it on film? And to all the filmmakers, any tips on how to manage reactions from your family and getting their support to share your personal experiences?
I think I can start.
I guess I'll go. You go ahead.
Okay. I think for Nene specifically, because it's really based on, it's really personal for me. Like, it's based inspired by my grand aunts, but also like the ending of the film, the end scene of the film. If you watch the film, is really like a real picture of what happened to me in real life. Because that's how kind of like I remember when my father passed away. That's kind of like how it happened, and sharing it. Is really, it's hard, but I think when you share it to someone, they might get inspired by it. Like, especially we, like, again, like just going back to the pandemic, I think with my film, I hope to kind of like resonate with someone and to connect people with their loved ones and check in with them. Just say hi, just say hello, and you never know what that checking in with them, like, how are you, and yeah, and like as for like sharing it with my family, I think it's tough. I think as an Asian Canadian, it's hard. It's like in our culture and tradition that we don't really kind of like have that kind of like personal. I think, like, like even saying I love you, it's not really a thing as an Asian. But yeah, it's when I shared it to them, it's kind of like it's interesting, but they're not really like that responsive that I would kind of like think of. So I'm expecting that, but kind of like I think that's how, I guess, just my family or just a Filipino, that's as a nation, just kind of like how it is.
I will try going if this works. Um, yeah, I would say that for me it was difficult, but therapeutic telling it. I found for writing it was kind of hard because I wanted to do it justice and I wanted it to be accurate. And sometimes that made the exposition a little long because I felt like the audience doesn't necessarily know all the kind of mental health system term and terminology. So I wanted to make that clear. But as far as executing it, I did find that portraying my character actually did exacerbate my anxiety a little bit. I felt myself experiencing more symptoms than usual during the month of filming. But I felt that it was worth it in order to portray an accurate representation of the character and of the other characters in the film. And I'm just like, in real life, I'm a very open person, and I always find that talking about things helps in general. And I do know that that's a big thing in Asian families. I'm a quarter Chinese, so I don't experience that so much. My family's more Spanish, and we're very open about talking about things. So that's kind of how I was raised. I mean, it's something that depends on like who you're with or whatnot. So I'm lucky that I'm surrounded by people that are very supportive and who are down to talk about things with me. But I know that that wouldn't be the case in everything. So yeah, it was a good experience for this though.
Yeah, for Christopher Kim, I guess there's initial fear of sharing my own story. So I thought that part was a bit difficult, but just giving it some more thought, you quickly realize that what's the point of making a film if you don't want to share a story that's deeply personal or something that you're really interested in or impacted in. So getting beyond that initial fear of telling a story that's kind of about yourself, after that it was okay.
Any other thoughts on managing families' reactions? Zoe, how about you?
Yeah, actually, so my story does have me kind of exposing my body, showing like where I had the surgery and stuff like that. And also, even as a comedy, actually, it is about, that difficulty of telling your family what you really think, what you really love in life, and your love for them, but also your desire for freedom and honest expression. So I have shown my film to parts of my family, but then there are definitely people that I know that it would not be a good idea to share yet. So maybe, and also knowing my culture, if it becomes very successful, then I could share it. you know,
Very true.
yeah, but, yeah, one day. And also, I'm excited to share that Young Adult Cancer Canada is interested in sharing this film with their community. So I realized that whenever you do a film so called about yourself, actually, you will take artistic license to become a bit of a poetic, expression of whatever that was real becomes fictionalized. So the fact that I get to share it with other people who also, after everybody thinks that after chemo you're fine, but there's a lot of anxiety about how to come back to normal living and how to walk amongst everyone when they think you're fine, but all this PTSD. So I am so excited that people who might benefit from this will get to see it. So thinking beyond the lines of what my family might think, but thinking further to how it might help somebody else. I think that kind of just makes it, I don't know, way more rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, definitely. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if there's any more questions left, but I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Again, VAFF would just like to thank all of you again for your films and joining us today to speak about your films. So again, thank you so much from all of us here. And we're not done yet in terms of the festival, so there still are a few days left of the festival. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in to watch this live Filmmakers Talk Canadian short series, Deep in Your Mind. Don't forget to check out the upcoming VAFF industry panel, What's the Secret to Becoming a DGC Director, November 6th, Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and also Introduction to the UBCP ACTRA Ultra Low Budget Program on November 7th, Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So definitely join us for that, because you'll get lots of good info on how to make your own films. And then, maybe next year you'll just be like one of these wonderful filmmakers up here. And we have lots of programming available in Canada only from now until November 8th at vaff.org, VAFF.org. Please share your experience with us on social media. Hashtag VAFF Virtual, hashtag VAFF.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.